We want to welcome you once again to Help, I'm a Parent, Christian Parenting in the Real World. We're so happy that you have invited us to enter into your home, your church, or wherever you may be gathered today. Maybe you're viewing this alone, or as a couple, or with a small group of friends, or a large church group, or perhaps you're even watching this online. Wherever you are today, we're delighted that you have joined us on this program.
We're your hosts, Drs. Claudio and Pamela Consuegra. Together we serve as the Directors of Family Ministries for the North American Division of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. We believe that the most important role you will ever play is being a parent to your child. God has entrusted you with a treasure more precious than anything you could ever own. In our last segment, we talked about how we can help our children be healthy and happy. Today, we're going to look at the challenging topic of making our children be respectful and responsible.
Have you ever wished that you could stay in the teddy bears and lullaby stage with your child? The reality is that this stage soon gives way to a stage when that little toddler will stamp their tiny little feet and say, no. Many parents will tell you that they spend so much of their time disciplining their children that they can't focus on the other elements of parenting. But let's be honest for a moment. Have you even been embarrassed when your children screamed or threw a temper tantrum, maybe even in the middle of that grocery store aisle? We want to pretend that we don't even know them. It's bad enough when it happens at home, but when it happens in a public place with others witnessing our children being disrespectful, well, that's when parenting really gets tough.
Colossians chapter 3, verse 20 speaks to our children by saying, "Children, obey your parents in all things, for this is well-pleasing to the Lord." Well, that may be easier said than done. Telling our children that they need to obey is one thing, but having them put that into daily practice, that's another matter. Many children are self-willed, wanting what they want, when they want it, and willing to put up quite a fuss if they don't get it. Getting children to cooperate with instructions or a parent's agenda can be quite a battle at times. No amount of pleading, threats, or bribes seems to motivate the child to appropriate action. There are times that it is so much easier as a parent to just say yes, because that way I don't have to deal with a child who is being disrespectful.
Every level in our society has rules, boundaries, and limits. And therefore, teaching your child to live within these boundaries will, in effect, teach them how to be successful later on in their adult life. Is there a difference between discipline and punishment? How do we tame those temper tantrums? Teaching your child to be respectful goes hand in hand with teaching them how to be responsible. Thank you for joining us, and we want to invite you to stay with us as we discuss this important topic of teaching our children how to be respectful and responsible. Our guests today are going to help us look at this topic of respect and responsibility. What can you expect from your young child? Young children shouldn't have to deal with adult-sized responsibilities, so how much responsibility is too much? How do we as parents teach our children to be both respectful and responsible?
Our guests today are Dr. Cesar and Caroline De Leon. Dr. Cesar De Leon is the Ministerial and Evangelism Director for the Central California Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. He's also a licensed marriage and family therapist in the state of California. Cesar holds a master's degree in divinity as well as a master's and a PhD in marriage and family therapy.
Caroline is a registered nurse. She's worked in critical care nursing for 14 years before she earned her master's degree in marriage and family therapy. She's currently working to complete her PhD in pastoral counseling.
Caroline and Cesar are the founders and speakers of Tu Familia Primero, a bilingual ministry focused on helping couples and families to live their God-given potential for happiness, purpose, and mission. The De Leons passionately enjoy offering hope, new understanding, and new beginnings to individuals, couples, and families. Cesar and Caroline, we're so glad to have you here, and thank you for coming to be with us today.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah. Now, before we begin, we want to look at a video of a special couple and how they deal with their children. So let's look at this couple.
We are the parents of two young kids, a girl and a boy. And we worry sometimes, actually quite often, about teaching them respect and responsibility. Two important traits that they will use them through their entire life, whether it be in school, whether it be in their relationships, in finances, professionally.
Some of the things they have to do is to do some chores in the house. For our oldest boy, for example, he would have to, of course, pick up the toys, the clothes, take out the trash, empty the recycle bin. And then for the little girl, she's still little, but she still needs to learn some responsibilities. And it's hard to try to do that because she's still young, but she still needs to learn some certain responsibilities. Some of hers are helping me to set up the table during dinner. Of course, picking up toys, something that they don't like to do, but they have to. And her clothes. And the issue of obedience also is a tough one for both of them.
Some of the challenges we have is we have chores for them to do. We have responsibilities things that they have to do on a daily basis.
Luca, come here now.
But somehow they don't remember them. You have to keep reminding them on a daily basis. It gets a bit frustrating. So where does the responsibility comes in? When do they learn it? You know, every day you remind them, they don't get it done. Are we doing something wrong?
Okay, we tell them once, please get up, or please pick up your toys, or hurry up, we need to leave for school. And we say it twice, and then we say it 3 times, and then we are late for work, or we are late to go to church, or to run errands, and we are also getting a little bit upset and uneasy, and then the relationship becomes a little tight.
That's when we start using a bit of punishment, for the lack of a better term, whether it be timeout, taking some toys away, or in this day and age, taking some of the electronics away. How far do you go in trying to teach them something positive as opposed to make it a negative experience? That's some of the challenges. How do they actually learn to be responsible and obedient at this early age?
Some very good questions there that those parents had. Interesting challenges. Now, you have 2 sons.
Yes.
I'm guessing they were small at one time.
At one time, yes.
So maybe you can tell us from your experience, how did you teach your boys responsibility?
That's a really good question. And I think that we want to go to kind of what's underneath responsibility and respect. And we've learned that connection, emotional connection, when a parent and a child are emotionally connected, that means that the child feels that the parents are attuned to his heart. And a connected child will tend to be more obedient, will feel respected, therefore will be more eager to help.
So you're not saying teach them responsibility, but rather connect emotionally with them.
Yes, and I would add to that respect is not taught, but caught.
Ah, okay.
And it is called from the parents. When the children, they see the parents connected emotionally, physically, when they see that there is a positive energy between the parents, they basically benefit from this emotional connectivity. And it is easy for a child to respond more positively to parents that are that are enjoying a positive relationship. So I would say that responsibility and respect are a sub-product of something else.
Sure.
We got to go deeper into the behaviors. What's behind the behavior is an experience that is telling the child, I am special. My parents love me. They love each other. We live in an environment where everybody enjoys a connectivity that offers, therefore, love, respect.
So that's the best thing you really can do for your kids then, is to have a healthy marriage.
Absolutely.
But you know, reality is, in so many of our homes today, we're talking with parents who, well, we either have grandparents raising children, we have adoptive parents, we have a single mom, we have a single dad, we have a teenage mother who may be watching this. So in situations like this, if it's important that they see the connections between adults, give us some practical ideas of a single mom or a single dad. What can they do then?
I like to say that children are like an iPad, a computer, looking for a Wi-Fi, looking for a wireless connection. Children are hungry for emotional connectivity. Like an iPad, always the first thing that it does is looks for the availability of the Wi-Fi connection. Children are pretty much the same way. They need to connect to somebody.
So to
Somebody
the
needs to
single
be
mother,
attuned.
yes,
Somebody needs to come and connect. They need to understand that somebody is at least doing three things for them. Number one, making sure that I am identifying the children's or the child's needs. Number one. Number two, making sense of that need. And number three, I got to be willing to do something for that child so that I can help him or her with a need. When children know that I am aligning myself with them, just give me a finger, there you go. When children know that, or a child knows that I'm aligning with him, her, it doesn't matter if it's the teacher, if it's the grandmother, an uncle, an aunt, a single mother, they appreciate when they understand.
Attach. Well, then we get into attachment.
Okay, let's go into attachment. When they sense that they are being attached to somebody that is showing interest, they respond a lot more positively.
So in other words, the most important thing to remember as we talk about teaching our children to be respectful and responsible is, number one, to teach them, show them that we care.
Yes.
Show them that we care and are concerned about them as a person.
Yes.
Now,
right?
Perfect.
And this, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that then this applies to any kind of a family, right? If there's not two adults in the home, it's okay, because what the child needs to know, as you so eloquently summarized, is they need to know someone here is crazy about me. I am okay. I am good enough for this one person in my life. When a child feels unconditionally loved and accepted, it doesn't mean that they're going to love it when you tell them to go pick up their toys or you're going to tell them to hurry. But it does mean that that relationship, that emotional connection is going to serve as a buffer for his or her frustration when they're asked to do something that they don't particularly want to do. Because let's be realistic, most kids don't want to drop their Game Boy to go take out the trash. That's reality. We have to be realistic. But when there's a relationship, a connection behind a parent's request, the frustration level is decreased. Attached.
Now, when we're talking about respect, it just came to mind. If we want to teach our children to be respectful of others, I guess that means that we have to be respectful of them.
Oh, thank you.
So what would that mean? How would we show them respect?
The first experience in the environment of respect is love. When a child feels loved, that child will experience automatically respect.
He
In other
will
words,
feel respected.
He will feel respected. Because see, children, they need to know that somebody out there cares for them.
Sure.
And when the care element comes into the environment, he knows that with the care comes an element that makes him feel valuable. When the child feels valuable, the child feels this respect that comes naturally. It's just like a river that flows naturally. Respect is water, it's a fluid element that comes into a child's life because he's loved and he's valued. So you don't, like you were saying at the very, very beginning, Caroline, you don't teach respect, you grab it.
Sure.
Now let me continue with the analogy of the computer, because when a child, and let me say something else, a child is always downloading stuff from the parents.
Oh, that's
Oh.
true.
A child is always
That's that connection.
downloading.
You
Yes.
download information that then you use yourself.
And sometimes the download is a file that is infected.
So in
Yes.
effect, then the parents are programming
Yes.
the child for their future actions and decisions.
My respect for my wife, my love for my wife,
The way you talk to me.
the way I talk to you, my volume, my everything about me, everything about this relationship, he is downloading, he or she is downloading this relationship. If we continue or we start arguing and screaming
And being disrespectful.
Yeah.
that's a download that he's doing with an effective file. Just like a computer begins to misfunction, a child
Malfunction, yeah.
malfunctioning,
Yeah.
a child will start malfunctioning
That's right.
because he just received an infected file.
What kinds of things do parents do to disrespect each other?
Thank you for that question. I think a lot of our parents and friends listening will probably connect and will have a lot of ideas as well. Something as simple as,
Challenging what you say to them.
so I tell my child, you know, it's time to turn off the TV. You need to go pick up your toys. And if
I
you,
come back and I say, you know what, I'll give you 15 more minutes. What did I just do?
Right.
Basically, I disrespected
their mother.
There you go.
in front of the
And
children.
they began to realize, so that's a defective file right there. What would I expect from them? To do the same thing between the siblings,
Right.
Right.
subsystem, system, and also towards us
Right.
in the future.
And even if it's a single
Yes,
person,
yes.
parent raising a child, they're going to be picking up, how do you talk about your coworkers?
Exactly.
How do you communicate
Church members?
to your church members,
Sure.
your friends that you may have over to your home?
Sure.
So
Or
they're
the-
picking up all of that.
And I was going to add to the single parents oftentimes will have a parent. A single parent will have sometimes a parent that will come in and help babysit or help with the children. And even that relationship, a single parent's relationship to the significant other, even if that significant other is a parent, the children are watching and absorbing.
Right.
They are sponges.
Right. You know, we want to thank you again for being with us, but we're going to stop right now and just take a minute break, and we'll be right back because we want to continue our conversation about how do we set healthy and appropriate limits for our children.
You can probably already tell that we will not be able to cover every area, every concern, or every question you may have with just one parenting resource. Parenting will continue to produce new challenges and questions every day. As our children grow and change, so do the parenting challenges.
Our goal is to continue this conversation with up-to-date resources and parenting tools. We will do this online via our website. There, you will find out about any updates to these materials. And in addition, you will receive downloadable resources on a regular basis. It's our desire that this resource will assist you in your God-given role as a parent, using principles that are firmly grounded in the Word of God. So now let's go back to our conversation with our guests on today's program as we continue on the journey of exploring our God-given role of parenting. Welcome back once again. You know, before our break, we talked a lot about how we teach our children to be respectful. But now we want to get into this whole topic of responsibility. You know, we've always heard that love, true love, really does have limits.
Sure does.
But in this program, we're talking about children birth to age 7. So what kind of limits are appropriate, age appropriate, when we teach them to be responsible?
You know, in the last segment, we talked about that emotional connection and attachment, and it is related again to limit setting and responsibility. How so? A child that feels unconditionally loved and accepted by his parent will in turn respond more positively even when a parent is setting a limit. For example, little 2-year-old is in toy shop and he wants this truck, and mommy and daddy, or single mom, whoever it is, with a baby or with a child, isn't planning to buy the truck that day, and little one begins to throw a temper tantrum, what is a parent to do? How do you set limits? Well, a parent...
Which happens a lot in grocery stores
Yes.
and toy stores
stores.
and ice cream places.
Exactly, exactly, very classic. And so a lot of parents really don't know what to do, and oftentimes they're so embarrassed by the
That's it.
situation.
Yes.
And give in.
Yes, they totally cave in to what the child is needing, and that, of course, would be reinforcing, positive reinforcement to a negative behavior. So if parents can learn that kids are very trainable, if we respond positively to something negatively, the child will continue doing the negative.
So how could we respond? I mean, give us an idea.
Okay.
Our child is having a temper tantrum in the middle of the grocery store. What
do you do?
Give us some ideas.
And most parents aren't going to like the answer because it's very inconvenient to do the right thing.
Yes.
The right thing is to pick up the child, the tantruming child, without screaming or adding to the scene, picking up the child very gently, walking him or her over to the car, strapping them in, and driving home.
Before we go that far, I would say that maybe have a dialogue with the child, depending on the age of the child.
Well, true.
And tell the child, look.
We're talking
this
about a
is-
2-year-old.
Okay, if it's a 2-year-old, it's a little harder.
And it will change according to the age.
So you're saying do the hard thing, which is to drive away from the situation, disconnect them from the situation?
But isn't it hard to some? That takes time and energy because
Yes.
the parent's going to have to go back to the grocery store.
right.
So because a parent is limited on time, we're stressed. It's a stressed out culture. So I need to get my groceries and get home and take this 2-year-old to his babysitter.
So here's the
That's
candy.
right.
and let's
Here's the
continue to do
candy,
the thing,
and
yeah.
that's what
Let me
parents.
go on with my life.
Exactly.
That's
and-
easier.
Exactly. Well, but what parents aren't realizing is that medium-sized temper tantrum at age 2 is going to be escalating as the child grows because we have just given him a positive reinforcement to a very negative behavior.
Yes.
You know, I was thinking, Cesar, because obviously you have boys and we are men. How do we teach responsibility when maybe they're playing soccer or basketball? How do we teach those skills of responsibility to boys and, well, to kids in general?
Yeah.
Let me tell you
How you
what
did,
I
yeah.
consider, what I did.
What you did, yeah.
I decided very early in my relationship with my kids
And
that
we're
I
not
was going to
perfect.
remain connected with
Yeah.
them. I was going to make them my priority. And I will let them know you are my priority. So
So
many
you played
times
with
I had to
them.
leave my ministerial responsibilities aside so that I would, you know, basically start playing with them.
Wrestling with
Wrestling
them.
with them. I did a lot of wrestling with my sons because I realized maybe this is a good time to mention that anger, it's a very natural response in many children, especially during the first 7 years of life. Anger is an innate experience.
Part of the human
especially
experience.
when the parental diet is not doing too well and they are disconnected.
Or if there's just a lot of conflict and stress in the home.
So this connection will bring anger into a child's life.
Because maybe that's a manifestation of some sort of fear, not knowing what is expected, you know, those kinds of things.
Chaos,
Stress.
disarray in the relationship, stress.
Or in the home. We're talking
But you're
about
not
in the home.
suggesting that anger is bad.
I'm not suggesting that it's bad. It's
How we
it's
express
there.
it.
What we need to do is, number one, we need to address it. And we need to deal with it.
Teach
without
them how
fear.
to manage it in a constructive way.
There you go.
Okay.
So teaching our children, even when they may get upset because they have to do a chore or they have to do even their homework
Yes.
when they get even in, you know, first grade, we're talking here, that anger is okay, but how do you handle it? How do you deal with conflict in the way that the Bible teaches?
Exactly.
And then you need to remember that children's brains are not doesn't have the ability that we have as adults.
They're not fully developed.
They're not fully developed. So therefore, demanding of them and putting standards that are too high it's going to make them a failure time and again.
Frustrate them
So,
for sure.
so that's important what you said, is that my expectations when it comes to responsibilities
Yes.
need to be age appropriate.
Yes.
That I can't expect my 2-year-old
To take the garbage out.
to make his or her bed perfectly.
Exactly.
With no wrinkles, with the covers, that I need to realize.
I
You know,
have
what
to.
is age appropriate
If
here?
I fail to do that, I'm going to create a lot of unnecessary stress. I'm going to bring feelings of anger, and I'm going to damage the relationship. I am not being somebody that is, what will I say, reasonable with my demands. Even God is very reasonable when He demands things of us.
So make sure that our expectations are reasonable and age appropriate.
Yes.
You know, we just have about a minute left, and as we close, where does grace fit in? Because you know, sometimes when we look at discipline, it's viewed negatively. So where do we see this whole aspect of God's grace fitting into this picture of disciplining our children?
You know, I see that God is my role model for parenting. And I oftentimes ask frustrated parents that are ready to strangle their kids because they don't know what else to do with them. And I ask these parents that I completely understand and can relate to. I had that thought more than once. But I tell them, when was the last time God reached over and strangled you when you messed up?
That's true.
And parents will just kind of go, oh, that's so true. I said, when was the last time He sent you a ray of lightning when you did something that wasn't correct? So we have such a gracious God, and if we could parent our children the way our Father is parenting us.
Discipline,
That is so true.
Disciplining a child is about having the whole vision before you, is the long-term vision. It is the whole picture about where you want to take him from 0 to 21 or to 20 or to 18. Punishment, it's about taking care of something that's going to happen right now, and I'm punishing a behavior. Disciplining is about being more looking into their character development. Where would I want him or her to be in 15 or 16 years
Which is what we want
from
to
now?
do as parents,
That's right.
to disciple our children.
You know,
that takes a lot of
we're going to
grace.
have to stop right
But
now.
thank you so much.
We could go on and
Carolina Cesar, thank you so much for being here. And thank you for joining us as we explore some of the challenges of parenting today. We invite you to visit our parenting website, helpimaparent.org. There you will find many additional resources and materials.
When you feel like screaming out, "Help! I'm a parent," claim God's promise instead. Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand.
Join us next time on Help, I'm a Parent, Christian Parenting in the Real World, when we will talk about how to teach our children good stewardship skills in the use of their time, talents, and treasures. Until then, we invite you as a parent to cling to your Heavenly Father.